In today's episode, I'm going to go over civilization ideology. Quite a bit has changed since the last game. It's not just benevolent, malevolent, and pragmatic. Now you have different spectrums, actually 7 different dichotomies to choose from. I'm going to go over what they mean. Authority and liberty, some people might think of as a more traditional good versus evil, along with the cruelty and compassion. But really, you can pick anything you want on any of these dichotomies. So it more accurately reflects real life in the sense that you can have a lot of nuance. Now, I'm going to let you know up front that cultural points, which is what you have to spend to get benefits from your ideologies, are the rarest resource in the game. And each ideology is going to have a sucker move and a really useful one. This right here, get 50 control points, is basically a sucker move. You start with 100. By the end of the game, you'll just have thousands of control points that you can't even spend stored up in your inventory. So, unless you have some really specific early game advantage on a small map that you're running, Iron Fist is a straight up sucker buy. Now, on the other hand, double ship experience, that's every time you go into battle, you get double the experience from your ships. That is a huge game changer, and it'll last throughout the entire game. So this is a very solid investment. And as far as if you have to choose one or the other, you can spend cultural points on both, but not at the same time. So to be able to spend an authority, first you have to have some kind of authority. In this case, I actually have 8, so most of the stuff on this list is available. Let's say I wanted to buy prestige, but then after that I wanted to go over to the liberty ideology and say get plus 10% approval in all colonies. Well, what you would have to do is stop getting authority points and start getting liberty points until you had an ideology awareness of 9. You can only buy from whichever one happens to be leading in the amount of ideology points you have, but your double ship experience won't go away once you switch over. If you are looking to buy points, you don't have to go down the list like you did in the previous game. You can actually skip everything in the beginning and go straight down to star bases no longer have to pay management at the very end. All you have to do is get up to 9 awareness in the liberty ideology. You don't have to go in order. And I'll remind you again, cultural points are going to be the most limited resource in the game, so choose wisely. The next one we have is tradition versus innovation. Just think science versus influence. You can get approval every time you get a new tech. That could really help some. You can get research after surveying anomalies. And a big map, that's going to be king. Over here, you can get homeworld influence. You can get all star bases, generate influence. Tradition versus innovation is better for that. Now you have compassion versus cruelty. Again, I think +5 intimidation is a sucker buy considering how much you can get by the end of the game. Some people might want this if they're going for early game manufacturing bonuses. It does have a little of approval disability. So, cruelty is for the most part, well, I guess you could think of it as just being really intimidating. And compassion gives you a lot of approval bonuses and even some reduction of crime and pollution, and some diplomacy. And the next one, we have equality versus opportunity. So opportunity is basically hiring leaders. You're going to need a lot of leaders in this game. And this has options to make leaders cheaper, the executive order to get extra leaders to choose from comes up twice as frequently if you get this one. And you don't even have to assign a new leader if you conquer a planet after getting this one. That's what opportunity is about. Now, equality, it has a lot more to do with growth and approval of your civilizations. I think the biggest money maker right here is population capacity increased by 2. That's everywhere in your civilization, every planet. That's really worth it. We have secrecy versus transparency. This relates to your government's flow of information. You get deception, and you can even ally with the pirates. You can't tell the pirates what to do, but they won't attack you anymore, and they'll continue to attack your enemies. Lots of stuff like that in the secrecy. You can make all your leaders paranoid, which means they'll jump ship if your planet gets invaded. Now, transparency helps you with diplomacy. Other countries will trust you more if they know what you're up to. It also can give you more credits through trade, increase the social of your citizen, and get diplomacy from things like trade as well. Now the next one is harmony versus diversity. This one's a little confusing. Well, we know what diversity is. I mean, this basically gives you things like acceptance, no approval penalty for mixed species. If you have a xenophobic race, but you're also conquering a bunch of other planets, well, you're going to have lots of different species whether you like it or not. So this could be really useful. In my case, I wound up with harmony, but this also has some advantages. If you have a lot of planets that have only your civilization on it, harmony gives you an advantage there. I guess harmony is more about keeping everything the same, and they also have a lot of options to prevent war. Now, the last one here is calm versus focus. And you see, you get things like persuasion from calm. This is the biggest sucker buy ever. Unless you found a level 77 planet and someone else is about to take it, if you don't get this, wasting a cultural point on that is something I think you'll really regret. And you cannot get cultural points back after you spend them. 20% global farming. This could be a huge game changer, especially if you're playing as Mimic, because you'll need all the food you can get. So, calm, it's hard to understand exactly what it is. Just go over the things and you'll get used to it over time. Now, focus is very focused. It's almost all about manufacturing. Reduce rush cost. Well, you got ship moves, diligence, logistics, plus 20% manufacturing. It's pretty much about making things. And that's the gist of how these 7 dichotomies break down. And remember, you can pick anything you want. You could actually have authority and compassion, although it might be a little harder to facilitate. You can go in any order that you think is most strategically advantageous to your civilization. Now, your ideology awareness points are usually going to come from the choices you make. That can be sometimes during your survey reports, also sometimes for things you choose in your government options, and there are even a few buildings that actually produce ideology in different places. So in this case, we got a scavenger report. With opportunity, we can get honor spice, or with authority, we can get gold, or we can get nothing except 2 ideologies at the same time. And although you can go with any ideology you want, some of them are just closely linked, like compassion and equality tend to come together at the same time. And if your civilization wants that, it's a double whammy. If you don't, picking and choosing can be hard on some levels. I'll give you another example. Right here, I am playing as the dragon, and we've got a Festron ship. Now, they asked me if I just want to shut down the Festrons and grab some modules and nanobots, which I do. But the equality ideology isn't something the dragon really want. However, this menu comes up all the time, and that's really the option I want, so my civ is kind of forced into equality because of my playstyle. You can make it any way you want, you just need to be aware of some things. Now, how do you get cultural points? Well, you're going to have a number of quests that come up through surveys. So if you just survey a lot, they'll have quests that offer you the opportunity to do something to get a cultural point. And in this case, right now, I have the Hold Festival quest. It's a pretty easy one. Everyone gets this as a standard after 52 turns. But you just go to your planet, go to the festival, and you get 1 cultural point for holding the festival. Now you go back to the cultural menu and decide what you want to buy. I'm going to go ahead and get double experience for every battle. That's really going to pay off since I'm trying to conquer the whole galaxy. Other ways you can get this is throughout time. I think it's every year they're going to give you a option to basically a reporter asks you a question, and no matter what you pick, you get 1 cultural point. But the option to max out ideology really isn't there, so choose it wisely. They pretty much just come from surveying and from occasional things that come up about every 52 turns. And if I find anything later, I'll make an advanced tutorial on cultural points. Thank you for watching another episode of SS Street Fighter. Leave a like, leave a comment, and click subscribe to join the Street Fighter army. I'd also like to send a thank you to my Patreon supporters, Charles and Nancy.